we are finding roots. This is on polynomial roots. So what we did in the warm-up was review from last semester when we were solving that. So it's like solving, it's the same thing as solving a polynomial. We just have another version, they like to use in Algebra 2, which is roots. So here's another form here. What can we do with that to solve it? And you haven't seen one like that before. You've only seen two of them together.
Did we not?
Could we use as a zero product property here?
Sure.
We don't want to. We want to solve it, so we don't want to do FOIL. Can we use the zero product? Yeah, so we're going to use the zero product property. We're going to take x plus 5, set it equal to 0. X minus 3, set it equal to 0. X minus 8, set it equal to 0.
What was that?
So what we want to do on this one is we're going to get x equals what?
-5.
-5.
3.
X equals 3.
8.
And x equals 8. So our answers are -5, 3,
8.
and 8. So we want to put them all together. So what do we do on this next one?
Wait, wait.
No, it's on the other side.
How can you tell on there whether the mic's on? Is there some? Is the
Timer.
Sean.
When the timer's going up, it means the mic's on.
Thank you. Thank you for looking at that. So what do we do on this one?
Same thing.
Same thing. Yes, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set x equal to 0. X minus 3 equal to 0. X plus 6 equal to 0. And 2x minus 5 equal to 0. Thank you, those of you that are sitting quietly. So, do I need to do anything?
No.
Already solved for us. So this gives us x equals. Jimmy?
There's water on that desk. Do you not see it? Oh.
So we get x equals 3, and then this one is x equals -6. And then on the last one, what do we need to do to solve that?
Divide 2.
What do you? So we add 5
Divide 2.
and then divide by 2. So our answers are 0, 3, -6, and 5/2. You want me to double this homework assignment? No.
Yes, I do.
Sit quietly. Stop talking while I'm talking, please. Thank you.
Please do.
So it's going to get a little harder. Next one, what do we do?
Same thing.
Same thing. X plus 5 is 0. X minus 2 is 0. X squared minus 7 is 0. So
Oh, I can go there.
So this is going to be x equals -5. X equals 2. What do we do on the last one?
X equals 7.
Before we do that, what do we do? Add 7. There's another place outside that you can go.
Ooh.
So we get x squared is equal to 7. And so we want to do what now to solve for x?
Square root.
Square root. Good. So square root both sides. We're going to get 2 answers. One of the answers is square root 7. What's the second answer?
Negative.
He's right when he's saying negative, but where does the negative go?
Outside.
So a negative square root 7. So we get negative 5, 2, square root 7, and negative square root 7. Okay. So on this one, how do we set it up? X squared minus 6 is 0. X squared plus 7 is 0. And then what do we do next here on this one on the left?
Oh, you add 6 to both sides?
Yep.
And then you use the square root.
X squared is 6, square root.
But then 6 got on square root, so you just put, you do the square root 6, correct?
Yep. And negative square root 6. So what do we do on this one over here? What's our first step?
Minus 7.
Minus 7. X squared is negative 7. And then
Negative 6.
what do we do with the square?
What do we do?
How do we get rid of that square?
Oh, you square root it.
Yes, we're going to square root both sides. And we get x equals, what do we do when we have a negative inside that square root? What does it become? I, that's right. So this is I square root 7. Second answer would be negative I square root 7. So that I goes outside that parentheses as well as that negative. So my solutions are square root 6, negative square root 6, I square root 7, and negative I square root 7. Okay, next one. This is what your homework is going to look like this. So all this stuff is just leaking out through the solving. So what would we do on this?
X method. Factor out
We're going to
X.
factor it. How can we factor it?
Factor out X.
Factor out an x first. How did you know that? Yeah, there's an x in every single one of them, so we can factor out an x. So, what would we be left with once we factor out the x?
X squared plus 9x plus 18.
Yes. And then what are we going to do next on this?
X method.
We're going to do the x. So we look at what multiplies to 18 that adds to 9.
6 and 3.
6 and 3. So x plus 6, x plus 3, and now we, that's right, the zero product property. X equals 0, x plus 6 is 0, x plus 3 is 0. So x is, what's x here? Negative 6 and negative 3. So my answers are 0, negative 6,
We get 0.
we have to set that equal to 0 also. So how many answers do you have? 3. What's your degree of your polynomial?
Second.
It's 3. The highest exponent is your degree. It's a 3. They should always match. We have a theorem in algebra that says that that degree is going to be your number of roots. So you should always match there. So now how do we do this one? We've got all the different types of factoring that we've learned. You guys have been great
Yeah,
about
little
doing
group.
this factoring. Now we're seeing where it's coming from. What are we doing with it?
What is on the middle?
So how do we factor this? A hand, please. How do we factor this?
I don't know.
I got it.
Do you square the whole thing?
You got like the parentheses.
Yes. Now what tells you you need to factor by grouping? What part of this? Anybody? No. What tells us we need to factor by grouping here?
I need the number.
There's 4 terms. Okay, so when there's four of them, that's an indication that it's factoring by grouping. So you want to factor by grouping. So now, what do we factor out of this first one? That group back there. Tell me what your greatest common factor here is. Good. 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 And so see how these are the same. It has to be the same for us to move on to the next step. So we're partly done with our factoring. You need to do one more step. X squared plus 4. So we take this here and this here, and then 4x plus 1. So we're essentially factoring out the 4x plus 1 from both of them. So now we do what with those two sets of parentheses?
X0 and X0 method.
Yeah, set them equal to 0. 0 product property. X squared plus 4 is 0. 4x plus 1 is 0. So let's see. This group here. Tell me what to do.
You subtract 1 from both sides. I'm talking about the second one.
Okay, so minus 1.
Divide both sides by 4, and then you have x equals negative 1/4.
Yep.
And then,
Then hold on a second. Hold on. Let me catch up. Let me rewrite it again because this pen is wonky. The Wi-Fi is wonky. So what do you do on the first one? X squared plus 4 equals 0.
Oh, you subtract 4.
Good.
Just both sides.
And we get x squared equals
Negative 4.
negative 4. So Yusuf has answered it so far. I want somebody else in this group to tell us what to do next. Square root. That's right. So we're going to square root on there. So we get x equals what? Since it's a negative 4, it will be 2i. Does that make sense? 2i and negative 2i. I circle that. So my solutions are 2i, negative 2i, and negative 1/4. Okay, so how do we factor on the last one? A hand, please, on this one.
Nice bathroom.
How do we factor on this one? Take a look at it. Take a look at the exponents.
Is what we did yesterday.
Yes, and so how do we factor with that?
Oh, wait, I don't.
Yeah, we start with the x, negative 54 and 3. I'm going to have you guys in this group tell us what to do here. What multiplies to negative 54 that adds to negative 6? Good. So now our two factors are what? X. Good.
And x squared minus 6.
Good. So then remember to do the x squared there. So then we're going to set each of those equal to 0. And so going. There's a lot of steps.
You add the 9 over, or subtract the 9 over. And then you square root it, which would be 3.
3.
And then
Ah.
I.
3i.
Yeah, 3i. Square root.
And negative 3i.
Okay.
So we get x squared equals 6 on this one. So somebody besides Aiden, thank you, Aiden. Anybody else in the group? What do we do next? Yep, square root. And x equals square root 6 and
Negative 6.
where do we put the negative?
On the outside.
On the outside. Okay, so how many solutions do we have there? 4. 4. What's our degree? What's our degree here? 4. So they need to match. Okay. Okay.